Good evening, everyone. This is your host with the ghost, the prince of the paranormal, the duke of the dead, the sinister minister, the ghost daddy, the cryptid keeper himself, Lord Scuba Cabra, bringing you episode 11 of Somewhat Supernatural. But before we jump into the topic, I want to send a huge shout out to my co-host with the most, Mr. Ben DeLeon. How's it going, buddy?
Hi, you got all these nicknames, and I'm like, hi, I'm Jeff.
Hi, my name is Jeff. Well, you haven't given me, like an epic title for you. You gave me, you blessed me with majority of these titles that I have. So,
Well,
uh,
that's what I do. I'm that type of, you know, I'm generous, I'm benevolent, I am wise. Some people have said. Um,
so ladies and gentlemen, introducing the generous, the benevolent, the wise, the bald, Ben DeLeon.
you can tell with my shorts on. Oh, you mean my head? Oh, okay.
So how's it been going, man?
It's going good. We just recorded my podcast on Wednesday, put it out on Thursday. I'm enjoying the success from that. Get a lot of good feedback, and it's pretty cool.
That's good, man. I'm glad. Like, I love doing your podcast because, there's really no format to it. We just get to get on there and just, shoot the shit as bros. And, Ben's show is not part of the Project Louder network, but you guys can catch it on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you guys can catch podcasts. It is the Recycled Corn Podcast, and I've been on there for the last two episodes.
Yeah,
So
probably in the near future, probably maybe even longer than that. So I like it as a two-person show at least, and then maybe we'll think about getting a third person on to, do it a little
yeah.
bit more diverse.
Yeah, I'd be down with that, man. Like I said, I love fucking shooting the shit. And yes, Ricardo, the robo admin live apparently too, always letting me know that something's wrong in my stream labs and that my sound alerts don't work, which is fine. It's a Twitch thing, whatever. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be discussing the a very well-known haunting, and I say that in quotation marks because there are two sides to this story. A lot of people say that it's one of the most haunted places that they ever visited, so, such as Ed and Lorraine Warren. Lorraine said she would never set foot in that house again. But we are talking about Amityville today, so it's gonna be a very interesting one because we dug deep in this one, and there's a lot of things that we're going to talk about today, and I would like to get your opinion on it in the chat as well. So feel free to chime in whenever you can. We are a chat-friendly podcast. Um, for the audio listeners, if you have not caught us live, catch my Facebook at what Lord Steven Scuba Steve Vasquez. I post when we're going to be doing the podcast because unfortunately I'm not on a set schedule for the podcast. Or you can add me on Instagram at host with the ghosts. And I post there a lot too. Or you can follow me on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/Lord_Scuba Cabra. Or I always announce the Monday before on the Gore and More podcast, which is a Project Louder podcast. We do it every Monday. So catch our podcast there. And you never know, I might be saying, hey, we're going to be doing Somewhat Supernatural. So, Ben, talk about your projects, buddy. What's going on?
My particular projects, or we're talking about this because, like, my projects, I'm a dynamic figure, often
Yeah.
seen scaling walls and crushing ice. Let's see, like Monday, I remodeled the train station on my lunch break, making it more efficient in the area of heat retention. So that was fun.
Awesome.
Tuesday, I translated ethnic slurs for Cuban refugees. That took a while.
Huh.
Wednesday, I taught perpetually single men how to woo women with my sensuous and godlike trombone playing.
Your trombone playing is quite godlike, I must say. For those of you that have never heard Ben play a trombone, you should see his
Right,
rusty trombone.
dude, it is epic. I've been complimented on it many times. So then Thursday, um, I only had a hoe and a glass of water, and I single-handedly defended a small village in the Amazon basin from a horde of vicious army ants.
Oh, awesome.
And then now I'm here. So that was fun.
Awesome. Seems
But
like a solid fucking week, man.
yeah, and as for my socials, you can find me just about everywhere at I am Ben De Leon and at Recycle Corn Podcast. I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Well, TikTok is I am Ben De Leon 3. Apparently, there's two others that trying to impersonate me for some reason.
Damn, you got three clones. You're the third. You're the
Yeah,
third clone. They get stupider as you clone,
right.
according to
Well,
multiplicity.
I've been tested, so yeah. But please be sure to like and follow my podcast page and rate us 5 stars everywhere you can, because that's the kind of thing that the good people that tune into this podcast would do. So
Yeah, and it's if you listen to any of the Project Louder podcasts, especially on iTunes, go on there, give us a 5-star review, especially Somewhat Supernatural and Gore and More. I would greatly appreciate that, guys. So, we're going to jump in. So there are things that go bump in the night, unexplained voices and shadows that inhabit the most docile looking homes. In today's episode of Somewhat Supernatural, we'll be dissecting one of the most fantastically real or extremely faked hauntings in United States history. It's horror meets haunting, meets true crime, meets the paranormal. Today on Somewhat Supernatural brings you the Amityville Horror. So, I mean, what can you say about this, man?
well, the Amityville Horror is one of the most prolific cases of an American haunting. You just mentioned the name, and everyone immediately know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Young and old have heard the tales of what occurred to the Lutz family in 1975. Whether you're young enough to witness the original news stories, and I mean old enough now,
Yeah.
read the book or see the original movies in theaters, or maybe you came in later due to the remakes, and I'm talking about Ryan Reynolds, the legend of this house. But what really happened here? Was this house a gateway to hell, or was it one of the most intricate hoaxes to ever occur?
Well, so I, for one, believe that what occurred to the Lutz family may hold some water. But before we jump into that, I want to give a shout out to Brody Kane. What's up, Brody? Always watching Somewhat Supernatural. I appreciate you, brother. And he said Amityville 3D, bleh, which is one of the worst fucking Amityville movies. I didn't touch base on the movies much here just because, they start getting, there's like 20 something fucking movies, I think. But yeah, Amityville 3D was complete garbage,
And I think that was the one that I saw first.
Ooh.
And that made me want to go back and watch the other ones. And the first one creeped me out. Like, and then it was weird because I bought these books that talk about hauntings and all this. And then when I was reading about the Amityville case, I was comparing it to the movie as I was watching it.
Yeah.
And I was all like, man, this is like line for line along with what the book says.
Yeah.
According to, or the movie, whatever. So
Yeah.
I thought that was cool.
And part two was weird too because they had that whole incestual.
It's supposed to be like a prequel, right?
Yeah, it's the prequel. So it's supposed to be the story of the DeFeos without saying it's the story of the DeFeos. I forget the name of the family that's in it, but it's basically supposed to be the DeFeo story. But that movie was kind of weird. It had like a whole incest undertones to it, and so.
And of course, was it feo means ugly in Spanish?
Ugly.
So.
De feo means the ugly.
Yeah.
Just
so
in Spanish, I'm just saying.
Do with that information what you will.
Yes. So let's jump into a little bit about Amityville. So the town of Amityville is actually a really prominent area in New York. A bunch of people have had houses there. Al Capone had a house there. Will Rogers had a house there. Alec Baldwin was born in Amityville. So connection maybe. But we won't get into his issues on this episode. So built in 1927, 30 miles away from the Big Apple in the small Long Island town of Amityville, 112 Ocean Avenue is the house of one of the most notorious hauntings ever reported. This 3-story, 5-bedroom, and 3.5-bath colonial home on Amity River Road was the site of one of 1974's most notable murders. The murders of the DeFeo family by Ronald DeFeo Jr. were horrific. Using a Marlin rifle, he methodically walked into each bedroom in the home and killed everyone. His parents, his 2 brothers, 2 sisters were all found in the same positioning by the police. It was stated that they were all laying on their stomachs in their beds, face into the pillow.
Now, see, this is where I start to question things. Now, See, I was in the military, and
Mhm.
I've been around firearms most of my adult life.
Yeah.
I know how loud they are, especially this gun, which is a
Oh,
35
dude,
caliber.
a Marlin is loud.
Yeah, like you can hear that like up to a mile away. That crack.
Yeah.
So for them to say like the family just slept through the whole thing to me is just ludicrous. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, let's just say hypothetically that they slept through the noise because evil. But what about the neighbors? You know, the evil influence shouldn't spread far enough to cancel all the noise. So you're saying the neighbors didn't hear anything? Like even as when I was a kid, I wondered about like how come no one that they lived next to said anything.
Well, that's one of the big questions. So some say it was a maleficent force that kept the family in their beds. So was a demon holding them down? Was, or what's going on? So, but
They just all
others say the kids were just too tired and slept through it, but we don't really know exactly what went down. There's so many questions, and regardless of, the police findings, there's still people that say, and the biggest thing is this gun can be heard, like you said, a mile away. So how did the neighbors sleep, or how did the neighbors not hear anything?
right.
I mean, it's
Or
not like the houses are like super far away from each other, because they're not. You can see pictures of the home, So what occurred that he was able to walk into this home and kill everybody in the house without anybody waking up, without anybody running? I mean,
okay. Well, what I think happened, and this is just a theory. Um, okay, he killed his mom and dad in anger, because him and his and I'm talking about DeFeo Jr., Ron DeFeo
mm,
Jr. Him and his dad got into a fight about money. Apparently, there was some kind of money. They were both car salesmen. There was some money missing from the car lot, like a deposit. Um, the police questioned DeFeo Jr. The father came in to confront him. He said, like, I know you got this money. And so the Ron DeFeo Jr. tells his dad, like, I'm gonna kill you. And so, later on he winds up going through with it. He kills his dad. The mom's freaking out, so he takes her out. But then, okay, if the problem was with the parents, why didn't he stop there? So I'm thinking like he went into the kids' rooms, comforted them, told them, go ahead and go back to sleep. Put your head on the pillow so you don't hear no more of the noise, or put your face on the pillow. And as soon as they turned around, that's when he shot them because he didn't want to be haunted by those eyes, with them looking at him. I'm sure like his father was.
yeah,
And who would have thought that Big Brother would hurt them? So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure they just complied with it. So
Well, I mean, and that could be true, but the thing that gets me about that theory, because this is all theory, because we weren't there. Ron changed his story so many times, so we really
right,
don't know. Um, but it's what gets me is nobody's gonna lay there with this blast from this gun that just rings out, and I mean, at that, especially at that close range, you know what I mean? If you're in the same room, it's gonna be deafening. You know what
right,
I mean? Like, and for the sister in the other room, like, you're not gonna get up and run. You know what I
right,
mean? Like, I don't understand. Something else was going on in this house. Now, so DeFeo did claim that voices from the walls told him to kill his family. And so while this seems very strange, like I said, he changed his story so many times over the years before his death. So 13 months, a year and a month after the murders occurred in this home, the Lutz family purchased the home for $80,000 because it was hard to sell. They dropped the price, and the murders occurred there, so they got this awesome fucking house for $80,000.
yeah. I mean, even back then, 80,000 was a lot. I mean, it could have been more if there hadn't been six murders there. I'm sure,
Yeah,
but I mean, the home was incredible. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, 5 bathrooms, 3.5 bath, huge boathouse, 2 car garage, boat slip. I mean, I could see why they'd want to overlook, the murders and just kind of, whatever. This is my dream house.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
I and as would I. You know what I mean? I'm sure if I found an awesome house like this, awesome property with all these things that I just dreamed of that I could never afford in my life, but hey, somebody got killed in here. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Well, I didn't get killed in here. Let's
right.
fucking go. You know what I mean? Um, so with them finding their dream house, they only lasted 28 days.
I mean, that 28 days. I mean, it seems like it should have taken longer. You know what I mean? Like even knowing like what we know about movies and stuff, you would think like, okay, the activity is not going to ramp up right away. So it
But
seems like day one, as soon as they walked in, stuff was going down.
yeah,
So I mean, I don't know. That's
I mean
just
that's it's almost a month. You know what I mean? So they lasted. I mean, unless it's February. February 28 days is a month, but almost a month. Um, there's just so many questions with that too. You know, and a lot, like I said, a lot of people have tried to debunk this. But some of the stuff. So there was reports of like odors in the house that came and went. And this is what George said. And he could never get warm inside the house, which was shown in the movie. Like, you know, they show him going
right. He was
pretty
obsessed with
much
that furnace. Yeah.
well, a lot, and a lot of it was very like The Shining. You know what I mean? Like Jack Torrance was going through all this weird shit, and so it's kind of like George Lutz was kind of going through similar things in this house. He also claimed that he would wake up at 3:15 every night, which is around the time that the police believed DeFeo murdered his family. He
Hmm.
also claimed that his wife was physically transformed into an old woman. I'm sorry, but if my significant other turned into some old bitch, I'd flip out a little bit too.
But what if it was Betty White?
Oh no, I'd hug her. I would hug her and give her all the kisses. And people who knew the wife did say that in the 28 days that the family lived at the house, it seemed as if she aged years and started to look like an old woman. So, you know, when they first moved in, she was this young, vibrant woman, and it just seems like the house maybe like drained her energy or something, and
Which
kind of made her.
that's a scary prospect in and of
Yeah,
itself.
yeah,
If the house is like a psychic vampire just leeching
yeah.
off of you.
Well, I mean, it supposedly was a portal to hell, so who knows? Sometimes in the night, he would also hear the kids' beds slamming up and down on the floor by themselves. There were also claims of an invisible marching band parading through the living room, which is odd. Maybe,
One one thing I did find out about that, not only was there the sound of a marching band going like through the living room,
Mhm.
but when he was asleep, he heard this. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. He ran down the stairs. When he got to the landing, all of the sound stopped, but all the furniture and the carpets and everything were moved out of the way. The carpets were rolled up like as if they were making room for somebody to walk through there or to march through there, should I
Yeah.
say. So
Hmm.
that was weird.
That is weird. So also one of the daughters claimed to have a friend who was a spectral pig that only she could see. The pig told her to do things about or told her things about the DeFeo family that there was no way she was privy to. The parents did wind up catching a glimpse of the demonic swine once while looking through a window. So I guess that's in the movie where we're supposed to see Jody. They changed it so instead of it being a pig, it was a child. In all, like I said, they only lasted 28 days. That's all they could handle. And then they departed the property and they took off so fast, they left all of their possessions behind.
So
They didn't take anything.
I don't know, man. Like demon or no demon, I'm going back for my stuff. Know what I mean? I paid too much for this. Like just my my PS5 alone, I'm going back for it. Like,
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like, have you ever looked up the house on Google Maps?
I have not.
Okay, well, first off, you can't see it face up, like because it's blurred out. Like that the house and then the houses surrounding it on either side are blurred out. So
Mm.
you can't like go to the next one and kind of you can see it from overhead, but you can't see it
Like
from
the street view.
yeah from straight. But if you look at the street, it's just a normal road. It's just like
Yeah.
house, Amityville horror house. There's nothing really. It's just there. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, I guess again because of the movies that we've watched growing up, I'm expecting it to be on like this huge property, by itself. You got
Yeah.
to go through a gate to go in there and all this. But it's like
Yeah.
no, like it's just a normal freaking looking house.
Well, I mean, and that's the beauty of, editing film. You can make something that is not, look open by shooting different camera angles and things, you know what I mean? And I think that's why we have that idea that it was on this property that was by itself because of the way that the film was shot, and we never really
Right.
see the rest of the neighborhood in the movie. Um, so like if you think about it, you've uprooted your whole family to move into this seemingly dream home, and then all this weird shit starts happening. So there was a swarm of flies, like we saw in the movies, that would just randomly show up. There was a priest that was invited over to bless the house. Even he felt oppressed in the presence, being in the home, and even reported that he heard a voice that told him to get out. And this is
So it's
coming from
all the
this is coming from a priest. You
so
know what I mean?
all the trappings of a horror movie.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But like I said, this is coming from a priest, a Catholic priest from the Catholic Church. I find it very hard to believe that he would lie about something like that.
Right.
I mean, granted, they lie about other things, but I'm not gonna get into that.
Like, nah, never mind. I better not. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there was a lot of stuff. I mean, I could see why people would want to hush it up. It's an
Yeah.
affluent neighborhood. They're just like, just shut up about it and maybe this will go away. Um, I don't think so much the house was haunted as I think it was the family that was haunted, though. That's why after they left, nothing really occurred at the house.
Well, but that's the thing. They had never experienced anything before moving into this house, so that's why a lot of people think that George and what was her name, Catherine? Is it Catherine Lutz?
I don't
I believe.
even.
They just made it up for profit. Think about it. Maybe something happened. There was financial problems going on. Yeah, they bought this house really cheap, but they're in it a month and it's like, fuck, we can't afford this. We can't afford to live like this. Let's book it. Let's say some crazy shit happened, and let's fucking just bail
So
because
you think they're probably thinking like, okay, it hasn't been a month yet, so we can get out, and the bank will just cut ties.
maybe, I don't know. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things that don't add up. Uh, as much as I want to believe that this is, an actual legit haunting, there's a lot.
There's a lot to doubt.
Yeah, and I like I said, Ed and Lorraine went to this home, investigated the home, and there's this very famous picture that they took, and you see a child looking through the doorway by the
I
stairs.
I do remember seeing that picture, and I watched an interview with the Warrens, and Ed said that it looks like a child, but it's not a child because if you look at the eyes, he said that's an oppressive force taking the form of a child in order to fool the camera
Yeah.
to make him think like, okay, well, this is a kid haunting the house, not something that you need to be afraid of
which
per
is
se.
something that we have experienced. You and I have
Right,
experienced this when we went to the Mineral Wells Haunted Hill House. There is an oppressive entity there. Um, he disguises himself as a child named Toby, but he's not. He's this demonic entity, and
yeah,
he's been caught on film. And I mean, that fucking picture is horrific. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You see just like this snarl and smile in this fucking picture, and it's fucking insane, man. So if this house was a portal to hell, and all of these things occurred, and all of these things occurred that to Ronald DeFeo Jr., that caused him to murder his entire family, that caused the gun not to be heard because of some evil force field around the fucking house, then holy shit, this is one of the greatest fucking hauntings
Right.
in history. But if it was all made up for profit, because George wrote the book, And then for what
Right.
came from the book, the
Okay,
movie.
so what are the facts that we know?
Well, before we get to the facts, you said earlier all the trappings of a horror movie, and all the trappings of a horror movie, but this is their reality.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
true.
if you feel that your kids are being threatened and you feel that you are really being threatened, are you going to risk the safety of your ottoman or your mom's old sewing kit? No, you're going to get them the fuck out of there. You're going to get in your station wagon. You're going to hightail it, right back to Brooklyn. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's fair if you put it like that. I mean, I would want to take care of my kids. Um, but I'm kind of partial to them, maybe a little bit biased.
Yeah.
I mean, I did make them, so
Yeah. Well, so I say facts with a question mark. Okay. So I'm not saying these are factual things that occurred. These are what we
said.
know.
Yeah.
This is what was said. I don't know if this occurred. Nobody knows if this occurred except for George Lutz, and the Lutz family for real. You know what I mean? So George Lutz had a history of dabbling in the occult. So
Interesting.
you fuck with things like that, then I mean, you get what you asked for. So maybe it was something that was following him that was waiting for the right time to show itself in a more sinister way. So
Well, is
maybe
it
that
that the Satan waits until you're at your highest point before he strikes you down?
there you go. So George woke up at 3:15 every morning, like I said, which is around the time that DeFeo carried out his murders, which of course is which is very well close to the very well-known witching hour, which is at 3:33.
Yeah.
So
That
also
that
go
it's
ahead.
at 333 is was chosen because it was making a mockery of when Christ died, the Holy Trinity and all that. So
Yeah.
that's yeah. I mean, that was when a lot of stuff happened when we were at uh, the Hill House.
Yeah.
Was around 3 o'clock. That's why when that clock struck three, I was all like, okay, here we go. This is about to turn up.
Yeah.
So
See, and it was really weird because this last time, that's when everything just fucking dead silence in the house, like nothing. So it was really weird. But then 4:57 fucking music boxes
I
going off,
say
and
it was a deep inhale
before
before
the
the
hey
yeah.
guys, we didn't forget about you, motherfuckers. So the Lutz family, like I said, and we touched on this already, but these are just the facts from what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Question mark. The Lutz family claimed to smell strange odors, see green slime oozing out of the walls and keyholes, and experience cold spots in certain areas of the house, which it's a fucking big house.
Yeah, there's gonna be cold
There's going to be
spots.
drafts. The priest, he came and he heard a voice, said, get out. He told the Lutzes also to never sleep in that particular room in the house,
Right.
which
That's just like a priest to be like, just don't go in there.
just don't go in there. It's fine.
Yeah,
The rest of the
everything
house
else
is
is
blessed.
cool. Yeah, just yeah, not there.
So there was also a nearby garage door that opened and closed, which was it an automatic? Did they have automatic garage doors back then?
I don't know. Did they? I was it. This was in the 70s,
70s,
80s.
70s?
Yeah. So I don't know.
I wasn't
I
alive. I don't know.
I mean I was, but I don't remember that as a little. I was busy like trying to learn how to walk and stuff. So
There was also an invisible spirit that knocked down a knife in the kitchen. The pig-like creature with eyes staring down at George and his son Daniel from a window, which I think that'd be fucking creepy to see. Like,
yeah.
I'm okay with seeing, shadows and fucking ghosts appear, but see like a fucking pig thing? Mm-mm.
Or maybe they meant a police officer.
Oh, damn. That came from at Ben. You can find him at Ben De Leon on any socials. That did not
Say
come from me.
my best friend is a cop, so
I should have given a trigger warning before this episode just because we're talking. Well, no, because we're talking about murders and stuff.
right.
So I'm gonna probably have to record one and throw it in at the beginning. So George also waking up to his wife Kathy levitating off their beds. Sons Daniel and Christopher also levitating together in their beds.
It'd be like, while you're up there, can you get the
Can you get
cobwebs?
the cobwebs in the corner, please? So after telling their story, and this is the one that leads me to believe that hell, it may have occurred. George and Kathy took lie detector tests to prove their innocence. They both passed. Now, yes, it is possible to beat a lie detector test, but it's hard.
Yeah. Have you ever taken one?
I have not.
I have. And okay, the one of the control questions they tell you is, um, like, my name's Ben. They said, okay, say your name is David. And I'm like, okay, my name's David. And the little thing goes off, and I'm saying it with complete conviction, trying to like beat the lie detector test, and it knows. It said that I was lying. Like, it was that accurate. And I know, nowadays lie detector tests are not admissible in a court of law because you can fake them.
Yeah.
But from my experience, they are super freaking accurate. So, I
I
mean,
would like to take one day just why not? And that way when they ask you what's your name, I would say Scuba Steve and
yeah,
see if I
but
passed.
I was gonna say, like, you'd probably be like Batman when they asked him like what's your name is, he says Batman, and he would pass the test because he thinks really that is his identity.
Yeah, it might happen. So Daniel, who lives a quiet life in Queens now, as a stonemason, claims that the house ruined his life and that he continues to have nightmares to this day. Um,
I would
could he just
imagine.
be still trying to keep on the legacy of what his stepfather created?
I don't know, because see, they sold the story for
Yeah,
$300,000, which is a lot of money, but it's not life changing money. Know what I
no,
mean? So it might have got him out of that financial trouble that they were in, but they weren't able to, you know, like I said, pass down that money from generation to generation or whatever. So I don't see what they would have to gain after they sold the story, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Ricardo asks, have any investigations been done there? Yeah, I'm sure that there's been plenty of investigations, and the most famous one was Ed and Lorraine Warren. After the Lutzes moved out, I know that there was a bunch of paranormal investigators going and just, trying to get evidence. And some of them would say, oh, nothing fucking happened. And others would be like, oh my God, it's the most haunted thing that fucking occurred. But as a paranormal investigator, sometimes you can go to one place and you get all the fucking activity. You go back to the same place and nothing fucking happens.
Right.
Yorktown, for instance, Yorktown is one of the most haunted locations in South Texas. First time we went, shit popped off. It was fucking crazy. Second time we went, I mean, some stuff happened, but it wasn't to
Well,
the
I
extreme that it happened the first time.
I think what it was is they expected me to be there, and because I wasn't, they
Yes, yes,
just
yes. They were like,
yeah.
next time,
So
guys, next time.
yeah,
So, also, murderer Ron Jr. was serving 6 consecutive life sentences at New York Correctional Facility, which means there was no way he was ever getting out of jail, because when one life sentence was up, he would begin another. And he is burning in hell now, hopefully, because he
so
did pass away.
so if he was reincarnated, we're locking that up, dude. Or locking up that dude too. I
Well, yeah, I
mean,
mean, yeah, of course, obviously. So, but he still claimed that he heard voices urging him to kill his family. He had changed his story multiple times, like I said, sometimes including other people in the plot, including his own sister. He passed
I
in March of this year. So, like I said, and I posted when he died, I shared it and I said, good, rotten hell.
right. I don't know. Like I said, Sandra was the one who told me she heard the story um, about the sister being involved,
Yeah.
and that was the first I heard of that. But the more I looked into it, because she was actually the only one that was shot in the front.
Yeah.
Everyone else was shot in the back of the head. So people think that, okay, well, maybe she did have something, or maybe she was trying to stop him or whatever, and
Yeah.
he just took care of it. I mean, it was, I don't know, it was just a weird situation involving the sister, but I mean, in the end, it was the
It doesn't even
same.
matter.
Yeah. Man, I was gonna make a joke, but I better not. All right.
Yes, no. So Ricardo says he wants to go, damn it. Well, unfortunately, you cannot go to this house. You
No,
cannot go anymore.
they
So,
changed the address.
mhm.
They said if you look it up on Google Maps, you can't even see it from the front.
They even changed the exterior of the house.
Yeah, it said it looks completely different
No,
from what I hear.
no.
Um, but I mean, people still do go by there. I know that's it's been an issue for some people in the neighborhood because there's still traffic from people wanting to see the Amityville house. So
Oh, he says on an investigation in general. Yeah, okay. I will take you. I promise you, I will take you. I took Ben, I'll take you. So, what explanations could we have? Because we're talking, oh yeah, it could be, ghosts and demons and portal to hell, but realistically, the couple was bogged down in legal and financial issues, which prompted skeptics to believe, of course, they had motive to create this fantastic story to sell to the public, which is what I said, which is a more believable thing that they just
right,
fucking made it up. And also, the Lutz's former lawyer, William Weber, who fell out with them over money issues, came out in 1979 claiming the three of them came up with the horror story over many bottles of wine.
which could be a horror story in and of itself. Okay, so 1979. That's not too long after they had moved in and moved out, and the story was sold, and the movie came out, and all that. So this was pretty quick that he decided to say something.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, maybe they were just drinking and they're like, hey, yeah, we should say the house is haunted and let's fucking make some money off of it. So
I
I don't.
don't know. I just still have a hard time believing that they're gonna leave everything behind.
Yeah.
I mean, like unless you're really in danger, you're gonna take something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. Because they
a
left
mom,
literally with the clothes on their back and that's
yeah, I was
it.
gonna say a mom especially is gonna be like, I want the photo albums. Just go back and get the photo albums.
Yeah. And
You
I
know,
never looked up to see if they ever got their stuff. I'm sure they did. I'm sure eventually they went back to get their.
well, a lot of the furniture and stuff that was there was from the DeFeo family. They didn't have
Yeah.
the mattresses, obviously, from the shootings, but they
Yeah.
did have the bed frames, uh, bedroom furniture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see why they wouldn't want to take that stuff,
Yeah.
but at least take the stuff that you came with.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So after telling their story, George and Kathy, like I said, well, that was another thing. I don't know why that one's there. That shouldn't even be there. Uh, well, why the fuck did I double up on shit? I doubled up on a whole bunch of stuff.
Said owners since the Lutzes have not had any supernatural or creepy experiences in the house. So that's
Yeah,
something.
that's a big one right there. Also, the studio faked stories of paranormal occurrences on set while filming the movie due to absolutely no paranormal activity occurring while filming. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Okay, they did not film in the real house, so
So
of course there
naturally,
would be
nothing.
no paranormal shit going on, and of course it would have all been fucking made up. So I mean, you're gonna do that to boost ticket sales. You know what
Right.
I mean? But the fucking movie was not even filmed in the real house. So what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of stupid. I mean, for them to try to fake it, or they're trying to say that the story is so haunted, we can't even make a movie about it without,
Yeah.
stuff happening.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well, let's move on to our topic questions.
it's like, well, how close are the movies to actual accounts? I mean, I said earlier is like a pretty much line for line, but that's the first movie. What about the other ones?
The other ones have absolutely nothing to do with the original haunting other than being in the house. Like Amityville 3D was just crap. And it shows paranormal investigators faking shit in the house and they get, busted. And then you see this fucking really shitty ass fucking demon at the end in this fucking whirlpool portal to hell in the basement. And I don't remember. There's one that's really good though. It's the one about one of the objects from the house that's cursed. I don't remember if it's part 4 or part 5. It's really fucking good. but they just get stupid after that. I think
Yeah.
there's even Amityville in Space now is the most recent one that came out, and
Amityville X.
it's like a fucking low budget fucking horror movie where our background here, our floating ghosts here look more realistic than the fucking ghosts that
Wait, you're
look like
saying those aren't real ghosts in the background?
they might be trapped. They might be ghosts in the machine. I don't know. But yeah, I think the first one is really the only one that actually is closest to what occurred. They tried to, like I said, with part two, they tried to make it the DeFeo story, but we don't know what happened. We don't know if any of these weird incest things occurred or if any of the stuff that occurred in the second movie is actually what occurred to the DeFeo family. So they just, it's made for Hollywood, except for the first one. The first one is, from the book, which came from George, which whether it happened or not, that's the closest account, realistic account that we get.
Right.
So if you look at the first movie, that movie was, like I said, almost an account of the stories, and the other one's just caca. They just don't.
And so
don't.
the Warrens did investigate this house.
Yes, they did. So something from the house actually followed them and attacked them while they were on different floors of their own house. I remember reading that Lorraine said that Amityville is the one case that still haunted her and that she would never step foot in the house again, like I said earlier. She referred to the haunting as the personification of evil. And knowing what the Warrens dealt with, that says something,
Yeah,
And
I
whether you
wouldn't.
believe the Warrens or not, I do. I don't think they were a hoax at all. I don't think they were in it to make money. I just think they were, Lorraine had a gift, and maybe it was a little bit exaggerated, but I wholeheartedly believe that, Lorraine had a gift, and Ed, was paranormal investigator, like, and
One of
sometimes
I was gonna
no, go
say
ahead.
one of the things that I don't want to say it bothers me, but I just think it's funny is how Hollywood does this. Because if you look at the people who play Ed and Lorraine in the movies,
Oh, they
they're
look
both
nothing.
yeah they're both friggin' striking. They're both
Yeah.
stunning, gorgeous friggin' human beings. And then you look at the real Ed and Lorraine, and you're like, what the heck?
Well, see, that's why, in my life story, Ryan Reynolds is going to play me because it's just totally fine.
Well,
We have the same body.
I want Ryan Reynolds to play Sandra, um, in my
with
real
you
life story.
with you playing yourself,
Yeah, exactly.
especially for the sex scenes. So I mean I don't really have anything other to say about this other than to ask our final question. Do you think this is fact or faked?
That's a really hard question. I mean, because there's so many incentives for it to be faked, but at the same time, there's so many things, so many accounts that you can say, okay, fact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of on both minds about it. Um, really, I mean, it's a toss up. I mean, I want to believe because, of course, I've experienced things in my own life
Yeah.
that would say that there is something other than what we can see and feel with our hands and our eyes and all that. So I would like to say it was real, but at the same time, I'm more like, man, I just don't know. And I don't want to go on record saying, like I believe, and then later on, somebody just comes up and with all this evidence and proves me wrong because I hate being wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. If you put a gun to my head, I'm going to say, yeah, it was real. So
Okay. All right. Well, I am going to say I lean towards it being a little more real than more fact than faked. Um, I still do have my doubts about majority of the things that occurred in the house. I don't believe Ronald DeFeo's story at all. I think he was a piece of shit that just fucking murdered his family. Um, but I think that with George fucking around with the occult, that could have led to something being brought into the home. You know,
speaking of paranormal activity, um, I hear some stuff going on.
Yeah, my dog in the kennel or a ghost. I don't fucking know. Who knows?
He's like, it's a ghost of my freedom.
So, I'm like I said, I'm gonna go with it. Some of these things occurred, not everything, not to the extent that it was a fucking gateway to hell. Because here's the thing: nothing has occurred in the house since.
Right.
So, with nothing occurring in the house since, with other tenants, it had to have been something George did,
You,
especially dabbling in the occult. He had to have fucked with something that he shouldn't have fucked with, and
but
yeah,
then,
like Ricardo just said, there was a violent act that occurred. With that violent act, something could have been left. There could have, I mean, that's negative energy right there. You know what I
right.
mean? So that negative energy could have just been the spark that was needed for other things to start happening with George fucking with whatever he was fucking with.
So you think that maybe that was just like a battery?
I think it was like a catalyst. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just kicked everything off.
But wouldn't that be something like I said that would follow the family rather than staying with the
What
house?
happens to batteries?
They burn their charge and they die.
So if you have a family in there that you're feeding off of because they wholeheartedly believe this shit, you're going to be powered. As soon as
Right.
that family leaves and people are coming in and saying this ain't shit,
Yeah.
there's nothing here. You don't have that energy to feed off of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I guarantee you, if we were to go into that house, we'd already just be freaked out because of what we know occurred in the house.
Right.
So we're gonna start hearing things. We're gonna start fucking thinking we're seeing things because we're starting to feed. You know what I
Well,
mean?
well, let me ask you a question then. If given the opportunity to buy this house for $80,000, like back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
knowing the murders that went on there, would you do it?
Yeah,
You would.
definitely.
You would have no problems like sleeping in a room where somebody killed themselves
No,
or killed their family, whatever.
no, not at all. I mean, it's a property. You know what I mean? Like fuck if I could buy the Mineral Wells Haunted Hill House, I'd fucking move into that bitch. You know what I mean? Um, would I be paranoid? Yeah, I'd be a little paranoid. But then once I was comfortable in my own home, because now it's my home, sorry to what occurred to you there. It's like Beetlejuice. You got to coexist with these things.
Yeah.
You
I
know what I
mean,
mean?
I don't know. For me, I would feel the same way. Like, I would go in there knowing that now that I have ownership of this property, like I have dominion. So whatever I say goes, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that when they say they have a haunting experience. It's like, well, if you just take ownership and command what it is and say you're not welcome and you force it out by the power of your conviction, 9 times out of 10, it'll clear up on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, so the Amityville house sold officially in February 2017 to an undisclosed owner for $605,000.
little bit more than 80.
A little bit more than 80, but it was still $200,000 less than the original asking price. It had been previously owned by 4 other families since the murders. Okay, since the murders, and only the Lutzes were the ones that said there was anything paranormal in that home. One of the families had the address changed from 108 Ocean Drive, or had the address changed to 108 Ocean Drive. The house originally stood at 112 Ocean Avenue, or I don't
Ocean,
know why I said Ocean Drive, Ocean Avenue.
because you
Um,
want a house on Ocean Drive.
yeah. Ricardo said pocket change. Yeah, I wish. I wish it was fucking I wish I had that Elon Musk money. Hey
Right,
Elon, let me give me don't give me, but invest $1 million in me. I just need $1 million.
right.
A
If it,
million.
well, it's a tax write up for him.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm sure he makes that much in like 5 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
if that. So I could do some great things with $1 million, Elon. So if you ever catch this, hit me up. So
yeah, and he wants you to invest. I just want you to give it to me. So um,
no, I want to work for it. I want to work for it.
I
And I'll
said,
make it work for you.
I'll go work for you.
Ricardo said that dude claims to couch surf, not own a home. He has a home, but it's very small. It's like the tiniest fucking house you've ever seen. Like it's tiny house.
Speaking of tiny houses, you know you can buy tiny houses on Amazon,
No.
like those ones you can put in like your backyard, whatever. They come like
Oh,
basically like fully furnished and all that, and you just dump it on your freaking thing. They just connect the electricity and the plumbing, and then there you go.
could you imagine if you bought a tiny house that a murder occurred in and you didn't know it was a used tiny house? There was a murder that occurred in it, and boom, instant fucking crazy shit start happening on your property.
You know what? I would okay if it's a tiny house. How are you going to run from room to room?
You just go out the fucking front door.
Right, and that freaking front door closes and you're just trapped.
Yep. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Somewhat Supernatural. Thank you guys for tuning in. Ben, give us your socials one more time and where we can find your podcast, baby.
Okay, my podcast is the Recycled Corn Podcast. You can find me on all of the socials. I'm talking about Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Let me see. Pretty much everything you could possibly think of, just because I have a brand to build and I'm trying my best.
Yeah. Hey, you're doing good, man.
But I mean, if you do know me, then you know I don't need your pity follows. Unfollow me if you do follow me. But please first follow my podcast page on Facebook, and that's the Recycled Corn Podcast. Drop us a message. Let us know how we did. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, what kind of content you'd like to hear. Drop us a question, maybe a comment. And if you're on Apple, go by the Recycled Corn Podcast page. After you follow, be sure to rate us 5 stars because it does help. Please follow us on Spotify if you're on Android or wherever fine podcasts are found. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on this podcast with you, my bud.
Yeah, man.
It's always a lot of fun. I learned a lot in this one. I learned that I don't want to live in a haunted house.
Well, I mean, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, and besides, wife is also take care of any ghost that comes
there you
around.
go.
Like
There you go. She ain't afraid of no ghosts. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, thank you for tuning in to Somewhat Supernatural, as always. I am your host with the ghost, the prince of the paranormal, the duke of the dead, the ghost daddy, the sinister minister, the cryptid keeper, you name it, I am it, Lord Scuba Cabra, aka Scuba Steve. And I will see you next time on Somewhat Supernatural. Thank you for tuning in.